Welcome in. This is your odds checker betting preview for this week's Arnold Palmer Invitational. I'm Rick Gehman, that right there, Geoff Fienberg. And Jeff, here we go. This is the meat of the schedule, my friend. We've got a nice little field here at Bay Hill.
Yeah, super excited. The Florida swing always seems to bring out the entertainment. That's likely because the Florida swing usually creates a winning score that's conducive to something wild happening on Sunday. That sort of 8 under to 12 under finish. We got right in the middle of that with that 10 under last week. And that just creates a situation where a lot of magic, a lot of trap doors are still open, I guess, on Sunday. Rick, certainly will be no different.
Yeah, let's jump right into this board here. John Rahm, no surprise, your favorite. Again, the longest number available on JR, 9-1 at Caesars Sportsbook, with Rory McIlroy checking in at 12-1. Scotty Scheffler and Viktor Hovland, the only other golfers that are sub 20-1. Jeff, when you start assessing this field, you start looking at paths to victory. Does your card start here at the top?
Always tempting. It hasn't yet, although I will say that Viktor Hovland 18-1, Rick, like you, like many people, I'm always willing to ignore the flaws of the outright betting market. If I am betting on that Viktor Hovland ceiling, it's just dominant long irons, fantastic tee to green game. I always have this moment of flirting with Rahm. It ends pretty quickly. I don't think I'm going to bet Rory. Scotty Scheffler seems like a perfect fit. Unfortunately for Scheffler, and I think the people that backed him so much over the year and a half, 2 years, Rick, the dream is dead on placing numbers for Scotty Scheffler when the outrights now are coming in at under 20. But if you see me make a move here, folks, it's going to be on Victor at plus 1,800.
Yeah, I haven't pulled the trigger yet. I've actually already started my car with Hideki at 25-1. He's there, the only golfer in the 20s. And then you can get Matt Fitzpatrick, Sung J M, and Will Zalatoris to kind of kick off the 30s. Jeff, to me, this feels like a more natural place to start. Is that the kind of the way that you're viewing this?
Yeah, I would totally agree. And I completely understand your reasoning for picking Hideki Matsuyama 25-1 here, Rick. I mean, you look at the grid, you could argue just based on what's around him that this is a little bit of disrespect. Scotty Scheffler should be 18. We all love Scotty. We all love him for the same reasons. Viktor Hovland, 16, 18-1 on that grid. Don't need to sell anyone on Victor. We all know exactly what we love him for. But this is Hideki Matsuyama, one of the most consistent players on tour. The win already this year, the Masters win last year. I'm not really making a Masters comp, but people do say the green speeds around here are some of the more similar tests you get to Augusta, Rick. And let's just go to waste management for a moment, where we last saw Hideki. So there's so many birdies. Hideki's been making so many birdies lately that, he's just got to clean up a couple things. Wouldn't shock me at all. In terms of just fairness and value, I do totally agree at Hideki 25-1. I myself am looking at a lot of these guys, Hideki being one of them. I have bet Adam Scott 35-1. Listen, you've been listening to me talk since Christmas. This is almost like I'm committed. Now, if he plays like he plays at Riviera, we're going to be there right at the end this week. Nice little Florida history for Scott. All things sort of working. Let's maybe just 3 days of the tan sweater this week, but I'm here for Adam Scott and most 200-yard plus iron shots on tour this week. How can you not have an eye on the likes of a Will Zalatoris or a Sung J M? So between Hideki and Scott and M and Zalatoris, I anticipate betting at least two of them, Rick.
Yeah, if you have the ability to shop these numbers, highly encourage you to use the grid to do so. Zalatoris anywhere from 25-30-1. Adam Scott anywhere from 28-35-1. Mark Leishman, if you want to go down that path, anywhere from 28-40. You go a little bit further, Jeff. I can't stop clicking Jason Kokrak's name. I know he's got almost a handful of victories in the last 24 months or so, and he's always played well at Bay Hill. And I see a 50-1 number on him. And then Keith Mitchell has kind of made a living out of this little bit of a Florida swing. So now we're kind of getting to that next tier, the 50-1 and longer range. Does anything pique your interest here?
Yeah, so for here, Rick, I mean, described, I'm probably going to be committed in front of 35 to 1. I'm not going to have a ton of maneuverability here. Probably from about 45 to 1 through 80 to 1. The players that I am considering that I haven't crossed off yet, I can never quit Paul Casey. He just survives kind of limit a board, Rick. Paul Casey just survives. And it's just consistent great play at tough courses, despite the inability to cash. Max Homa, Jason Kokrak, Sam Burns, your guy, finally showing up at a bigger number. For those of us that do this week in, week out, we remember what Burnsy was just a few weeks ago. We're in Florida, a place that should be very kind to the SEC native. So Sam Burns back at a number that you want to potentially be a part of. So those would be the guys in and around, that 40 to 80 range that I could potentially find myself investing in this week.
Speaking at 80 to 1, Cam Young probably gets a much better setup here at Bay Hill than he did at PGA National last week. Played well at PGA National, seems to be uber confident right now. He's 80 to 1, but this is kind of the point of the show, Geoff, where you've got a really strong field. It's kind of top heavy, and you start to wonder, is there win equity as you get into the triple digits? Is it worth firing on?
I mean, firstly, from a big picture golf season betting view so far this year, Rick, we have really avoided the top of the board hitting. It's been really great for outright bettors. We see another long shot, come in this week as he outduels two members near the top of the board to take that big ticket. So big ticket after big ticket, just keeps cashing, north of 60 to 1. How much longer can that trend continue? I always, as we record early in the week, have this intrinsic belief that the top of the board will eventually rise, but we're talking about it. And I got to say, there are two internationals north 100 to 1 or above that have my attention so far. Eric Van Rooyen, 100 to 1 over at DraftKings. And I tell you, that's why we shop, because there are 66s to 1 out there on EVR. He knows how to find the landmine. So this can get ugly. And even with a multi-shot lead, if you're lucky enough to have it, you're holding on to the end. He is like a magnet sometimes for water. So maybe it's crazy that I'm playing him, but I just get sucked into the overall, tee to green ball striking ability that it takes here. And after disappointing everybody at Riviera, Rick, I'm going to the odds checker grid to find Thomas Pieters, 130 to 1. He can just be dominant off the tee. I believe this is a player that I'm expecting big things from. Very popular at Riviera for all the reasons we liked him. I'm not backing off that one bit. 130 to 1, and that's even crazier on the grid. Seeing it as low as 65 and 80 at some places. So DraftKings, shout out to them for the 130 to 1 they're offering me on Pieters. But that's it's going to be a light bomb squad for me, certainly.
Yeah, not often do you get FanDuel offering half the odds. I mean, literally 65 to 1, DraftKings 130 to 1 on the same golfer. That is why you use the grid. That is why you shop it. Geoff, I've already got, I haven't placed them all yet, but I'm going to be very tight, very focused this week. I will probably avoid the super long shots. I'll have to make my token Aaron Wise 125 to 1 wager just because I'm in this now and I can't stop in Florida. So I'll give it a couple of more weeks, but outside of that, it'll be focused on some of those guys in that second tier, and I'll be happy to go to battle with them.
Yeah, certainly. It's going to be a fun card to build in that 25, 50 to 1 range. And, before we get out, Rick, it's such a fun event. Anytime you get an event, like just last year, for example, where Bryson DeChambeau needs every piece of his game to outduel Lee Westwood, and the contrast in styles, and you look at some of the guys that have won here recently, your Molinaris, your Leishmans, your Hattons, guys that can go about it very differently than, say, some of the more dominant players that we like to give so much attention to. So the roadmap to victory is very different, but you're going to need your game, and what you do well, it's better. You better spike it this week in many regards.
Yeah, I do love this event. Real quick before we get out, so Bryson DeChambeau, our defending champion, withdrew on Monday morning. What would his odds have been, Geoff? What do you think? Where would you have plugged him in on this board?
So he was 28 to 1, and I honestly thought about it. I looked at it. I'm like, what is the health condition? Hopefully we get some updates about it, but it wasn't an instant red ink. It was 28 to 1 on a, like, if he, we make a lot of losing outright bets all the time. I would have just been willing to chalk it up. So him withdrawing saves, I guess, me some hassle or, a bad week in that regard. Hopefully he can be healthy. Players on deck. The Masters coming up. It would be a shame to not get Bryson healthy. And anytime a defending champion has to miss his defense, it's probably pretty serious. At least to even give up this early in the week, to be like, we've seen like Berger kick it down the road at Pebble till like Wednesday afternoon, probably out of respect. I'm the defending champion. I'm going to do everything I can. The fact that Monday morning, Bryson already said, no mas, it's probably a bad sign for even next week, potentially.
I tend to agree with you. I think that he will be dealing with this for quite some time. Geoff Fienberg available on Twitter at gfienberg17. You can find me at Rick Run Good. Oh, I thought you were going to jump in there. Did you have one more thing you wanted to say? Okay.
I'm good.
This has been your odds checker betting preview for this week's Arnold Palmer Invitational. Good luck.